The Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo appointed former Auditor-General, you'll recall, Terence Nombembe to lead a team of investigators into state capture allegations. Now, a critical change to regulations governing the Zondo Commission means that those in Nombembe's team can disclose vital discoveries to law enforcement agencies. President Ramaphosa and the Minister of Justice, Ronald Lamola, co-signed the amendment in July last year. Despite this, there are a number of challenges, including finances, a lack of resources, and a pile of red tape to go through. For more, let's talk now to the Investigative Directorate's Sindisiwe Twala to find out from them how the cases are progressing that stem specifically from the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. Ms. Twala, thank you very much for your time. Talk to us about those cases that you are dealing with right now that are coming out of the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. Are you able to list them for us?
Yes. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Kholi. So what we've actually focused on is that the ID has been separated into three core functions. We're focusing on law enforcement, corruption that took place there. We're focusing on state-owned entities, more particularly Eskom and Transnet. In the Eskom and Transnet space, you would recall that we had a final restraint order handed in our favor for a gentleman called Kubentheren Moodley for over 200 million because we believe that he benefited through the kickbacks for advising or the advisory services of Regiment Capital for doing absolutely nothing. In that particular case also, we initially in 2019 had 1.2 billion rand that was restrained from Regiment Capital Advisory Services for their role in advising Transnet on the 1064 locomotive deals and various other deals. We provisionally had that. Unfortunately, it was then discharged, but we are appealing the matter in the next 2 months. We're waiting for a court date in that. But those are some of the cases in the Transnet space. But in Parliament, just a week ago, you heard Advocate Herman Grenier speaking extensively about how we are working hard to make sure that criminal action follows for those that were role players in the 1064 locomotive deal.
Yeah.
In that deal, following the State Capture Commission, you would have heard that there was an escalation from over 30 billion to about 54 billion for those particular 1064 locomotive deals. So that is a contract that we're focusing on extensively at the ID. In terms of Eskom, which is another focus area, we arrested about 4 persons linked to the Husile Power Station saga, valued about 745 million rand. It's back in court on the 1st of June. We're hoping to proceed to trial as speedily as possible. However, we also have that issue of the one other gentleman, Michael Lomas, who was part and parcel, we believe is another accused in the matter, who currently lives in the UK. Extradition talks have started between ourselves and law enforcement within that particular area. Yeah. But I can go on and on in terms of others, but I think the main focus area for this year for the ID is Eskom and Transnet and getting those persons who are involved to account.
Any more imminent arrests, Sindisiwe Twala?
We cannot confirm arrests until we arrest because it would defeat the purpose of specific things that we want to follow. We want to make sure that everything is orderly before we do that. But in terms of Estina, a lot of people have been asking us about when is that case being re-enrolled. It's something that we're working on to make sure that it's re-enrolled. You would remember that in 2018, it was provisionally withdrawn by the NPA. We then inherited this case and we're very close to making sure that those involved in that particular matter account. The scope is quite larger than we actually anticipated when we started looking at that particular case.
You spoke earlier in your first response about the head of the independent or the Investigative Directorate. That's your boss, Herman Grenier. Something very interesting that she said, Sindisiwe Twala, in Parliament as she was briefing MPs there. She said they are dealing with not only senior politicians, senior executives and multinationals, but these people, this is the crucial element, these people are supported by teams of accountants, lawyers and management consulting firms that helped them disguise what they were doing. Are there skills within the ID that are equal to this task?
It's no secret, we've said it many times, Advocate Herman Goni has said it many times, that unfortunately when she took up office in 2019, she found that there had been a hollowing of skills in law enforcement. The NPA Act did not allow for the NPA, for the Investigating Directorate, to hire investigators. So we had to work on a secondment model, getting people from DPCI, getting people from SAP seconded to us. And you know, when somebody's seconded, they work as hard as they can, but they also belong to where they come from. So they also have cases from those particular sending law enforcement agencies. Only in January this year, this is about almost 2 years later, were we able to hire about 21 investigators that started. However, this took extensive talk. But we do believe that the reason for the difficulty in getting some of the investigators to actually come on was because in 2008 or so, when the Scorpions were disbanded, the amendment of the NPA Act forbade the hiring of investigators. So this is what we then had to work with. As far as the Investigating Directorate is concerned, it's prosecution-led investigations, but you still need investigators on the ground. So this was one of the reasons why the cases took as long as they did to actually get enrolled. But we're excited that the 21 investigators have started, but that's the furthest thing that we need. We actually need more hands. The State Capture Commission of Inquiry has now had another extension of its term, meaning that as much as we need the investigators and other legal minds from that team to come over to the Investigating Directorate, it means we're going to have to wait a little longer because of that particular extension. Yeah. But be it as it may, communication is taking place. We are communicating since the proclamation was amended last year around July. So it has assisted us somewhat, but we still need more hands on deck.
Talking about politicians that she mentioned in Parliament that her investigative team is dealing with, is the ID, or should I say, is the former president, Jacob Zuma, in the sights of the ID?
We cannot rule anyone out, but we're not going to be pinpointing or mentioning who exactly we're investigating until we have conclusive evidence and until we've enrolled matters before court.
Sindisiwe Twala, thank you very much for the time.